So in a previous presentation, we talked about implementing a GUI element or a GUI texture, and we did that by importing the menu folder that I provided, and that included a Photoshop document, two versions of a PNG document, along with a menu button script. And I'm just going to load the scene where I implemented that, and so I have a loading screen. And that loading screen simply renders a GUI texture on screen that says play. If I roll my mouse over the play button, let me turn my camera off here, or detach my script for a moment. When I hit the play button, I simply have this this GUI texture that has two different states to it. And just a quick reminder about how we achieved that. Once you drag the menu assets that I provided in a previous presentation inside Unity, what I can do is just simply select one of the PNG graphics. In this case, I'll start with the off file. If I go to Game Objects, Create Other, and set that as a GUI texture, this file then is attached to this GUI object that I just created. So I get a play off object. I don't really see anything until I hit the play button, and when I hit the play button, I'll see that graphic being rendered on screen. The next step in the process is to take that menu button script and drag and drop it onto my GUI texture. In this case, it's called play off. And again, because I had the play off button selected, it adopted that name when I generated the texture. If I select the play off button after attaching the menu script to it, I can type in the level that I want to load. And the level that I want to load, I called it level 01. I'll just apply that. And then I have a normal texture and a rollover texture, and this is the two different versions of the button. So I'll take the off button as the normal texture, and I'll drag the on button as the over texture. Then you'll also notice that we have a beep variable here, and it calls an audio clip. And so what Unity is looking for at this point is a simple audio clip to use as a sound effect. Now, if I hit the play button at this point, I can roll over the button, and if I hit the play button, it should load level 01. I'll toggle the play button off for a moment because I want to focus on the sound effect. Now, there's two key points to keep in mind to get this audio to work. Now, my intuition tells me that if I go into my sounds folder and I go into my menu folder and I say select this menu click, I'll just give that a quick preview. My instinct is telling me that if I select my GUI object and I drag any one of these sound effects into that audio file field, that it should work right out of the box. And if I hit the play button, as I roll over this, nothing's happening. Or if I click on it, nothing's happening. Okay, and the reason for that, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, we want to make sure that this audio that we're using is a 2D audio. So I'll go back to menu click, I'll select it, I'm going to make sure that it's a 2D sound. I'll go back to my GUI graphic, I'll apply that change. I'll make sure that it's using the updated version of that sound, just for good measure. And it's still not going to work. When I hit the play button, nothing's happening. Okay, I'm not hearing any sound when I roll over it or when I click on it. And the reason is because we actually need an audio listener attached, or excuse me, an audio source needs to be attached to this object. Now, the easiest way to attach an audio source object to this GUI texture is to simply just drag and drop really any sound clip will do, but I'm going to use the one that I'm referencing here. Now, it may seem a little redundant here. We dragged and dropped this sound effects into the audio script that we're looking for, or the menu button script. So we're referencing an existing audio, but we also need some kind of an audio source attached to this object. And so now, well, I had my simulation running, so I'm going to lose what I just did, but I'll drag and drop any audio source onto this play off GUI texture. Now when I hit the play button, Let me back up. There were two things that were happening here. If I select the play off button, I dragged and dropped an audio source onto this. I really don't want that audio source to play on wake, so I'll just turn that off because I'm calling the sound that I want to play here inside the script. This audio source, this actually could be blank. I could just set this to none. Okay, so now it's an empty audio source and everything's being handled by the script, but that audio source component needs to exist. It needs to be attached to that GUI texture in order for that to be able to play a sound. Otherwise, the script, in fact, here, I think if I remove this component, when I hit the play button, when I click on the play button, you'll notice down here that we're getting an error in the console saying there's no audio source attached to this play off object. And what Unity is telling you is that you need some kind of an audio source component. So I could just click on this add component button here, go into audio, and add an audio source. And once I have that audio source attached to it, as long as I have the script attached properly and that's referencing a sound, now this object has the ability to play an audio source. So when I hit the play button and I click on the button, I get that audio feedback, and in fact it takes me and loads the level that I intended. So that's just a quick overview of how to get the menu up and running and to utilize some sound feedback. We can of course modify that script so that it plays sound on rollover as well, but right out of the box that sound effect plays when you click it. So that's just a brief overview of how to implement and start using sounds inside Unity. We'll push forward and look at some other tips and tricks inside Unity in the next presentation.